Randy says, hey, everyone. In the last Hump Day Hangouts, Bradley mentioned something called domain authority stacking. Can you please elaborate on this a little bit more? How does it differ from RYS drive stacks? Well, it was an older tactic that was, it worked like crazy years ago. I'm talking like 2013, 2014 timeframe. So we're talking 7-8 years ago now. But domain authority, which obviously is a Moz metric, it's a proprietary metric. This was right after they took the PageRank scoring away, where Google stopped displaying PageRank and sharing that information. And so at the time, domain authority and page authority were probably the most accurate type of metrics to determine like the rankability or the if you could boost domain authority past a certain threshold, you could rank easily. And that was, I mean, that's not the case anymore, just so you know. I mean, there might be some exception to all that, but we at Semantic Mastery stopped focusing on third-party proprietary metrics long ago, like 4 years ago at least. We stopped worrying about all those metrics. I don't care whether it's Ahrefs or Majestic or Moz or any of those, because we just don't care. We work on semantic-based SEO, which is based on entities and it's based about relevancy. And what Marco always says is art, activity, relevance, trust, and authority. And so we're able to do that without focusing on metrics, and we're able to get results without focusing on metrics because those are third-party metrics. So, and again, so I'm just prefacing all of this so that you're aware that domain authority stacking stopped working like it did several years ago, and we kind of got away from doing anything where we would try to manipulate third-party metrics because they're just that. They're third-party metrics, which I know they have their algorithms and such and all that are, they're smart algorithms that determine the power and authority and all that kind of stuff. And there can be good indicators, but again, we've been able to achieve results with like not focusing on those metrics at all. So that all said, domain authority stacking was a way, again, back 7-8 years ago, where if you could boost the domain authority for a domain past a certain threshold, anything above 40, it would start to rank quite well. And if you could get above 60, forget about it. It was easy to rank like even new pages on the site. And so what we used to do is we would manipulate domain authority a number of different ways. I'm not going to get into all of them because there was a number of ways we did it. But, and again, like I said, I don't think it necessarily works that much anymore, although I'm sure there's some people out there that are still probably doing some similar tactics and getting results. We got away from that. But one of the ways that we used to do it was amazing was we would find, like, for example, old, like go to, I think it was expireddomains.net or something like that. And we would find dropped domains. So these were domains that were expired, that somebody had let expire, that had been used at one time, but then they went through the whole auction process and then and nobody purchased them. So you could buy them as closeout domains for like $5. No shit. You could register them for like $5. And some of these were like Chinese domains that had thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, and even in a few cases, hundreds of thousands of subdomains. And since the domain wasn't live anymore, like when you did a search on it, you'd see that there was, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of backlinks built to these Chinese domains that had like all these subdomains that were no longer existent. So we would buy the domain for like $5, $6, whatever it was. And then we would set up a what's called a wildcard subdomain redirect so we would point the domain to a server, a host. Then using the htaccess file, we'd set up a wildcard redirect to redirect all of the non-existent subdomains to the root. And it would power up that root like it was crazy because all those backlinks and everything would all of a sudden like consolidate to the root, and it would boost the root domain to like seriously in a week's time. Remember, Moz's domain authority metrics, they would refresh. I think it was about every 2 weeks. It might have been 3 weeks at the time. And so you would have to wait 2 or 3 weeks for the next Moz refresh to see what kind of an effect the domain authority, like how much you boosted it. And it was crazy because, doing the subdomain redirect method, you could go from a 0 to like above 40 in one Moz cycle, one refresh cycle. Other ways we would do it was just set up a subdomain on a new domain and then just give it to our link builder, Dedia, the same guy that builds links for us at MGYB now, and just have him do, huge, hundreds of thousands of spam links to the subdomain, and it would just raise the domain authority to where when we would build on the root domain, pages would index and rank almost immediately, or at least it would give an unfair advantage. So there was a lot of stuff that we would do. So those are just a couple of the methods. But again, we got away from doing that because it started to stop. Like it stopped working as good as it used to. We started to see a diminishing return from that. And that was about around the time that we stopped using metrics is when we started seeing Google adopting semantic, semantic web search technology, so that so essentially we were realizing that things were going towards entity-based SEO at that time. And so we got away from all of that and started working on activity, relevance, trust, and authority. So again, that's why I don't recommend domain authority stacking anymore. I'm sure there are some people out there that are still getting away with doing some probably really cool things that work. We got away from that, so I can't really speak on how to do that now. It probably would still work as far as boosting domain authority, but I don't know how valuable that is now, is what I'm saying. Drive stacks, as Marco always says, the reason why we got away from doing all that other stuff is because in 2015 is when Marco, and at the time it was Dr. Gary, developed the Drive Stack and RYS, the original RYS Academy, or Rank Your Shit Academy, which was using Google's own properties to basically create the kind of authority that we did with domain authority stacking before, but only using Google properties now. As Marco always says, it's about being in the belly of the beast, right? So we go into the belly of the beast, which is Google, and we manipulate Google assets and Google properties, knowing that Google's not going to punish or it's not going to punish or penalize itself. So therefore, that's why we call it the SEO shield, because we use all of Google's own properties to shield our money site from any potential negativity that happens from external SEO or off-page SEO. And we do all of the off-page SEO to the SEO shield, and you allow the high authority Google properties and some of the other properties, but mainly Google properties, kind of filter or link launder, like link laundering, right? We link launder launder the links essentially that are flowing through the Google assets back to the money site, so that we are basically stripping any negativity from from any potential penalties that link building can cause, if that makes sense. So anyways, hopefully that makes sense. Anybody want to comment on that? I know we used to do a shit ton of that way back in the day.
I'm good.
Very good.